This game has an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly and at your own risk. This game has an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly and at your own risk.
This game has an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly and at your own risk. This game has an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly and at your own risk.
Following up on the trailblazing first edition of the Final Table series, we have now reached the most awaited grand finale of the India Poker Championships Final Table Series 2.0. Good evening, namaskar and welcome. My name is Peter Abraham, and as always, I'm extremely delighted to welcome all our viewers to this last final table of this season's FTS 2.0. It's the 2 crore guaranteed main event. This much anticipated final table started yesterday, and 264 entries took part in Day 1A and 358 entries formed Day 1B, and that led to a total of 622 registrations. The winner of this mega event not just takes home the prize money of 38.38 lakhs, but also will get a diamond-studded gold medallion along with a game face mask and other special gifts. As always, we have reached the final table and it's time to find out who is at the top of the FTS 2.0 leaderboard right now. A prize of 30 lakh rupees is up for grabs by the top 10 players who finish up on this leaderboard, and everyone is trying to make it to the top 10 because the player at the top spot gets to draw 10 lakh rupees as his prize money, or her prize money for that matter. As of right now, Ashish Ahuja is topping this chart. Now, before I tell you who all made it to the final table to have their claim on this special, precious one of Sam, let me first tell you about the gentleman who is going to join us from Canada at the moment, although he is from Idaho in the United States. He made history in the international tournament scene by winning €1 million at the European Poker Tour's Berlin stop in 2010. 2015 was another breakout year for this gentleman when he picked up 2 WSOP bracelets in Las Vegas and in Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the poker wizard of the international waters, Kevin McPhee. Kevin, welcome to the live stream. It's been a long week almost with all of these timings with all of us in different parts of the world. But here we are. We've survived this week. And once again, good to have you here on this live stream of the main event.
Yeah, thank you for having me again, Peter. This should be a lot of fun. Well, Peter, I know that this edition of the Final Table Series is all about putting your game face on. Mm-hmm. So this time, why don't you show us your game face when you know you have a winning hand?
When I know I have the winning hand? Well, that's more like the people's eyebrow or something like that. Well, I just can't keep a straight face for one of those things. But yeah, that's the best I can do at this point in time. But as far as this final table of the main event, FTS main event that is concerned, we have a lot of familiar faces sitting in on this final table, and we're going to take a look at all of these players as we go along. A very familiar face right up top is a face that we've seen here. Well, not the face, but the ID certainly is someone who we've seen here before. It's Anujkumar Kodam, who's leading the pack, playing as Atma 108. 4.6 million in chips for Anujkumar, and needless to say, he's got a pretty hefty poker resume. Pokerbazi moneymaker in 2017 for 30 lakh rupees, and of course he's also the winner of the Adda 52 Millions High Roller event, and he's 31 years old from Bangalore and sitting in on a stack of 39 big blinds. I think he should not take it all that easy, but having been here before, I think Anuj Kumar will be someone who knows how to wield that relatively chip leader of a stack that he has.
Yeah, AA Atman had a pretty nice run at the last final table. We had a few pocket aces at that final table. Seemed kind of appropriate considering his screen name. But yeah, a 30 log score back in 2017 for the Pokerbazi moneymaker. Has a chance here today to top that score with, also scooping the potential to scoop that gold and diamond encrusted medallion. So coming into 39 big blinds, the top of the chip stacks, I think he's going to be pretty disappointed without a top 3 finish here. But it'll definitely be super interesting to see how this very experienced player navigates chip lead.
Well, right after Anuj Kumar is Avinit Bagri, who's playing as Push and Pray 17. Well, that's the way I play my poker, push and pray. And I'm sure Avinit is a little bit more skilled than just that username suggests, but 3.9 million in his chip stack. And this gentleman has, of course, got several deep finishes as well. 9th in the IOPC main event for 5.4 lakhs back in Jan, 2021. And this gentleman too is from the city of Bangalore. Not too much of a difference there, Kevin. 33 big blinds versus the chip leaders 39. It should be a relatively interesting battle with such close chip stacks between the top two.
Yeah, I mean, we only have 2 chip stacks above 30 big blinds. So really, if any of these short stacks double, you can see the dynamic change quite quickly here. And I got to say, I really love this screen name. and it seems like most of the screen names have been living up to their given name. So we'll see if there's some pushing and some praying going on, but I love that screen name, and good luck to him. It should be fun to see how these big stacks navigate again.
Well, every player at this table, no doubt they've got the talent, but a little bit of good luck doesn't necessarily hurt anyone. The third name on the chip counts is, of course, a well-known name to Kevin McPhee as well. That's Siddharth Karia, who's playing as Ari Tribbiani. I think that's a combination of Ari Gold and Joey Tribbiani. Very polarizing figures from the television world, I think, there. But a little over 3 million in chips for Siddharth, and he says that his biggest achievement is being able to play this game for a living. And indeed, he's done pretty well for himself. A third place in the PPL Moneymaker for 8.75 lakhs. And of course, he was part of the winning PSL team back in 2018 as well. So one more player from the city of Bangalore. And I think you hold Siddharth's game in pretty high regard, Kevin.
Yeah, I met Sid when I came out to Goa for the PSL. He was on Team Goa, the Goa Nuts, and we were the eventual champions. And actually, when Sid came out to Vegas a couple summers ago as well, I joined his team event with Dirty and Iyer as well. So we got pretty deep. We ended up cashing the event and lost pretty massive coin flip to the eventual bracelet winners. I would have loved to have won a bracelet with Sid. We were pretty close, like one coin flip away, and we could have definitely had a chance. So Sid is definitely an up-and-coming player. We've seen him stream a little bit, and he obviously took down the Headhunter Championship last time. And it's nice to see somebody come on, do an interview, and then make final table of the main. It's kind of a little bit of that interview run good. So we wish Sid all the best of luck in this event. I mean, he's an excellent player, and I'm hoping to see a big result from him.
Well, following Sid on those chip counts is Devvrat Arya playing as Deranged. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but that's the username there. 2.49 million in chips for this player. That's 21 big blinds for him. We don't know much more about this player, but that's a pretty decent stack to be playing with. The next person on the chip counts, also relatively unknown to us, is called Rahul Jindgar, playing as Rocky the Great. And he's got 2.2 million in chips. Again, a 19 big blind stack. So I think these middling stacks, Kevin, are going to be sort of trying to stay out of trouble, but at the same time, maybe looking to knock out the lower stacks so that they can chip up and get to the next page up.
Yeah, it kind of seems like we've seen a lot of extremes here in the middle stacks. We've seen people either play extremely conservative and able to ladder up, making sometimes absurd folds, in my opinion. But we've also seen people just completely apply max pressure. So I think the storyline with these middle stacks is, normally they're supposed to sit back and kind of wait, but you're in the championship event here, and you're playing for the glory. You're playing for the gold and diamond encrusted medallion. So you certainly can't blame these middle stacks for wanting to get in there and mix it up, especially if we have the chip leaders applying a lot of pressure, as we've seen at the previous final tables. So yeah, it should be definitely interesting to see how these middle stacks navigate. But yeah, I think with some new names here at the final table, we don't really know what to expect. So we'll keep our eyes on those two names.
And speaking of new names, the next three on the list are not that new. In fact, the next player that I am referring to, Kushagra Mehta, playing as Nkush. We've seen him a couple of times on these live streams, and clearly that good form that he's in has landed him a spot here at the final table of the FTS main event. Remember, 2 crores, that guaranteed prize pool. So it'll be a nice, healthy chunk of prize money that'll go the way of these players. And Kushagra Mehta, who's got a little over 2 million in chips, that's about 17 big blinds, another middling stack there, and a 32-year-old from Jaipur who's finished 3rd in the IOPC Destiny as well as 5th in the IOPC Elite Tournament this year. So lots of recent experience, lots of final tables made, and I think the kind of play that we've seen Ankush do on these live streams clearly seems to suggest that he's definitely got game, and I think we can expect some interesting moves from him. And the last two players on the chip counts, in 7th position is Alok Birewar playing as Mazakar. Very interesting username that. I'm not sure what the genesis of that is, but maybe if he wins this main event, we will ask him in that post-win interview. 1.8 million in chips, that's about 16 big blinds. They are all sort of middling stacks. It's really not fair to call them short stacks given that there's 4 of them around the same mark. But again, someone with no lack of experience, a Spartan millionaire in the past, as well as the DPT High Roller winner from Feb 2018. He's been playing for just about 10 years now and plenty of experience with Alok. Last but not the least, Pranav Khandalkar playing as Pranav Poker with 1.5 million in chips. Also another player who's almost playing the game for close to a decade from the city of Mumbai. And 13 big blinds is what Pranav has. So, and Pranav is of course a former Spartan millionaire winner. So again, someone who's done and been at the big stage, and once again, Pranav on this final table. It doesn't take much for the short stack to get into the middle and then even to the top. Just a couple of hands going your way and it could just be Pranav's day if things do turn out to be the way he wants them to be. I think it's going to be an interesting mix of styles. We know some of these players. We've seen some of these players on these live streams. So I think, Kevin, we should be in for a very interesting FTS main event.
Yeah, and one thing I think that's kind of interesting about this final table is you have a lot of these sub 20 big blind stacks coming in. We have 4 guys sub 20 big blinds and one just 21 big blinds. So, but my point is the payouts are pretty flat. Once you until you get to the top 3 or 4 spots, really you're not seeing massive pay jumps between 7th and 8th and 6th place. So I think that really kind of should take some of the pressure off of these players and really let them get in there to mix it up. So I don't think you're going to see so much of the middle stacks being handcuffed, especially with so little distance between them. So I think it's going to be pretty fun beginning of the final table as people jostle for position and try to get to those bigger top 3 positions. So going to be a lot of fun to watch. And of course, I mean, we're all going to be a little jealous over the eventual winner because they're going to take home that gold and diamond encrusted medallion that we're all wanting so bad. So it should be a lot of fun.
Well, speaking of the payouts, there's certainly a really, really healthy prize that's coming to the winner of this FTS main event. Alongside that prize money of 38.38 lakhs, there's also Sam Razavi's precious gold and diamond medallion that is there to be played for, and of course some gift hampers and the special game face mask. Let's talk about the rest of the payouts. Like I mentioned, 38.38 lakhs for the winner of this main event, and the min payout guaranteed for every single player at this final table is 4.28 lakhs. So lots and lots of nice prize money that's there to be played for. And I haven't forgotten about all our lovely viewers. We do have a contest question for you as well. And it's time to ask that first contest question. And here it is. What is Doyle Brunson known as? Yes, the godfather of poker himself has a nickname that is really popularly known as. So get your answers to that contest question into the comment section. Make sure you include your Spartan Poker ID. Tag 3 of your friends, and if you are the lucky winner of this contest, then you will receive a ticket into the Millionaires Day 1A at Spartan Poker, which is set to take place on the 19th of March. That's a really huge, it's one of the flagship events at SpartanPoker.com, and you can easily win, well, not easily, if you know the answer, you'll be put into a lucky draw, of course, but there's every chance you can free roll into that tournament by answering this contest question. What is Doyle Brunson known as? Make sure you get your answers in quick, and we'll reveal the winners of that contest very, very shortly in the course of this live stream. Well, we're close to getting the cards into the air, and it's time to toot that horn and get the action going on this final table of the 2 crore guaranteed FTS main event. It's time for the players to get into the action and, well, get your game face on and let's rock and roll.
Let's do it.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Not too long for us to see all of this action begin at this final table of the FTS main event. It's the grand finale we've all been waiting for. The cards are in the air. The tournament director is about to say shuffle up and deal. And we should be seeing the start of action very, very shortly with all of these players. And, well, there's no TD here, but I'm going to say it anyway. Let's shuffle up and deal.
Yeah, it should be a pretty fun final table. It's been a pretty exciting week here of events leading up to this final table, and we definitely have some familiar faces here. Right off the bat, we get into the action with the big blind picking up, or no, we have jacks under the gun opening and taking down the pot. So it should be a fun final table. We have some special guests coming in as well. So, and also we're playing for that gold and diamond crusted medallion and the main event title. So a lot at stake here today. This should be the most fun final table to watch, and I'm certainly looking forward to it.
Right. Well, pocket jacks to begin all of the action, and now another nice hand for Mazakar, the ace queen of clubs. Mazakar, of course, is Alok Birewar, a well-known quantity on the online circuit. As are many of these players, I believe there are only a couple of players here that we don't have all that much information about, and those are the middle stacks. Devvrat Arya playing as Deranzed, and Rahul Jindgar playing as Rocky the Great. Other than that, every other player here definitely got a pretty hefty poker resume, so I expect, given that, well, I'm hoping there'll be some fireworks in this particular FTS. Just allow us, though, some time for us to do some commentary as well. It shouldn't be like one of those up and done kind of final tables.
Yeah, well, we see Mazakar taking it down with the ace-queen last hand. He came in with only 16 big blinds, and that's a big storyline of this final table, is all these stacks coming in between about 15 and 20 big blinds. So I think maybe it's a game of chicken at the beginning to see who gets kind of cold decked or who's going to step out of line and risk being the first eliminated. But certainly some people can hide behind a rock and maybe make some pay jumps at this stage of the tournament. We've seen it before, so I think it's going to be interesting watching how some of these middling stacks play. It should be a lot of fun.
Yep, we have plenty of those. In fact, if you have to really objectively look at it, it's the top three who have most of the chips, and then the remaining players at this final table, 5 of them who are at that 20 big blind or less sort of a stack, well, at least at the start of this final table. And we see one of the familiar names on this table is Ari Tribiani, that's Siddharth Karia, who had joined us on one of the earlier streams, as a guest spot. And Kevin, I think you've obviously interacted a fair bit with Siddharth. You'll be rooting a little bit for him. I know we're supposed to be a little unbiased, but you can't help it sometimes.
Yeah, Sid's just one of the nicest guys I've met. He's, super smart guy and super nice. He's was my teammate for the Going Nuts at the PSL when we took it down, and my teammate in Vegas for the World Series bracelet event as well. And he's a very talented player. He certainly has been there and done that with taking down the Headhunter event last series. And it's always nice to have somebody come on the stream and then produce. We saw it with Ramesh coming in with chip lead in one of the events, and then Sid comes on and does an interview, and then the next day is on the final table of the main event. So that's always kind of cool. But yeah, he's a great player, and he's got a pretty comfortable chip stack. So I think his strategy right now should be to kind of just hang out and be tight and watch some of the middling stacks bust, some of the short stacks bust before he starts making any moves. And I think that's going to be the case for quite a few of the players here. Although we did see Nkush last hand get a little loosey-goosey with the Queen 8 offsuit from the cutoff on a pretty shallow stack, but it did work. And Nkush had been playing a super unconventional style for this series, and definitely one player I'll keep my eye on, because I'm having a hard time pegging his plays. He limps and min raises and doesn't reshove, but re-raises, not all in, and does a lot of things that are, in my mind, very unconventional, but it's been working out for him. So definitely one of the players to watch out for.
Well, unconventional is good because it lends a lot of flavor for us in the commentary box here. But at the moment, though, nice place to be for Deranst in the big blind with pocket aces. And the nicest part about that is that he's got a player who's raised ahead of him. So it's going to be a fun watch on this particular hand if Deranst decides to stay in.
Yeah, and this looks super strong when you're sub 20 big blinds and you only 3-bet from the big blind. In my mind, it kind of screams strength. I think, maybe not at a final table, at another stage in a tournament, I would probably just flat call with aces here. Kind of helps protect my defending range a bit to give me some top end there. And, but yeah, he does. I mean, the chips matter so much to this final table that just re-raising, taking down the pot, put some distance between the other stacks. And we do see the re-raise from him and the pretty easy fold from the King 10, to be honest.
Yeah, there's enough of a case to be made for just the call to disguise the strength of those aces. And what Rocky the Great did there in that hand, raising it up and Deranst spotting that and getting out of the way. Mazaka, though, now with the pocket tens, putting in a raise.
Yeah, and this is a great spot to wake up with tens because you got to assume that AA Atman is going to be applying a little bit of pressure in the big blind with a wider range of hands. So, of course, he just has super trash with the 7-3 off. And we're going to see some snap folds. So, Massacre chipping up nicely. Yeah.
Even a half-decent hand for Atman in that particular hand would have at least see him want to check out the flop. So, unfortunately or fortunately, because who knows what would have popped up, but Massacre taking that hand down. A nice little raise there.
Yeah, and here we see Sid Karia under the name Arya Tribbiani opening up with the ace-7 suited from the hijack. Definitely a worthy hand to play and not going to see any action from the jack-4. We need just to raise and take it. And looks like we don't really have too many hands here, so maybe time to chat about our special guest we're going to have on later.
Yep. This is definitely a special sort of a final table because, well, it's of course the grand finale of the series, the main event of this final table series, 2 crores guaranteed, plenty of prizes coming the way of all of these finalists, but 38.38 lakhs up top for the winner. And so on this great Stay tuned for all of that and more. And let's not forget, we do have some contests for you, our viewers. So lots more to look forward to in the course of this live stream. In the meantime, though, pocket tens make another appearance at this particular hand. This time it's Deranst picking them up.
Yeah, we're going to see our chip leader open King Jack from the cutoffs. Pretty standard open. Pocket tens with about 15 big blinds here. Very likely shove, and I cannot see the King Jack folding. So I think we're just going to see Durant take
it's
this
just
down.
that right amount of chips that's there. It's almost priced in Ace Atman.
Yeah, but I mean, you want to keep the short stack. There's kind of an incentive to keep the short stack short as well because you can keep playing your min-raise ICM game. And even like 3-bet in some specific spots, which we already just saw actually while you were chatting there and talking about BenCB coming in. We saw Atman 3-bet the 10-8 suited and Massacre have to fold the ace-3 suited. So I think that Atman doesn't really need to play any big pots right now. He can just kind of pick his spots pretty carefully and doesn't really need to overextend himself. And we will see him open the King 10 here again, so a pretty consistent theme at these tables has been the chip leader really yielding that big stack and trying to apply maximum pressure. And it hasn't really been working out so far. Sometimes, these chip leaders have been a little too aggressive, but I think this is a perfectly reasonable play from Atman. We're going to see a reshove with the ace-10 for 10 big blinds. Oh, wow. Quite the run out. Spiking the king on the flop and runner, Broadway. So Pranav poker with a nice double there. Good, very needed double for him. I'm sure that's a sigh of relief. Yep. And we get a blind increase as well. So the pressure is just right back on all these short stacks.
Yeah, and, talk about good timing on that one for Pranav Poker. Entered this final table as the short stack and some much needed chips, as Kevin McPhee says, for Pranav Poker to just hang in there and try and make a go of it on this final table.
Yeah, and we see Duran's D opening the King 7 from the hijack. So
say it correctly, Kevin. It's Duran's because we've had a lot of these.
Yeah, well, getting a little out of line with the King 7 there, and right after doubling up Pranav poker, so yeah. Or no, that was Atman. Sorry, that doubled him up. Well, anyways, Peter, I'm really excited for today's guest. BenCB is, just one of the most respected, highest stakes players for online poker in the world. He's just been at the top of his game for so many years. And to be honest, I've never met him, and I've played a lot of live poker. And for me, that screen name has always been kind of an enigma. Right. And it wasn't really until the last few years where he really started stepping out and creating a personal profile for himself. But, I don't think he really played very much live poker. He's just a pure online wizard, playing the highest stakes sit and goes, the highest stakes MTTs across all the sites. So I'm really interested. I think it's going to be quite the pleasure and a rare thing to get to pick his brain a little bit. So definitely something nice for our viewers to watch for free. Just to have one of the best poker minds in the world, a guy who's well respected as one of the best coaches, come in and do commentary on this table is quite a treat. And I think everybody should be eager to tune in for that, because that'll be quite a nice treat.
Well, as Kevin says, BenCB generally likes to keep a very low profile, and it's only in the last few years that he's sort of made himself a little more available. Well, the vagaries of being on social media and all of that, you can't really hide in the modern world of technology today. But someone who's not really flying under the radar and who's been entertaining us all over this final table series is going to be joining us shortly, and that is, of course, the enigma, not right, but the fun and always affable Sam Razavi is joining us now on this live stream. Sam, welcome to the live stream. Great to have you here once again.
It's a pleasure to be back as always. When I saw that Siddharth Karia was on the final, I was like, I'm sure the other day you said, Sid, hopefully we'll see you on the final table. And when you said it, I felt a sort of, this I don't know the word is epiphany, or I just felt that he was going to make it, and he's there now. So I'm rooting for him for sure.
Well, once the commentator's curse did not work, and our good wishes have actually enabled someone to come to this final table. But remember that trend of the chip leader never reaching the final, the finish line, that is, has been a consistent theme throughout this through the series. But again, we don't know what's going to happen in the course of the next, how many hours this takes. So it should be interesting to see how it all pans out here at this final table of the FTS main event. Sam, are you looking forward to having a chat with BenCB as well, who's going to be joining us a little while from now? Kevin is certainly looking to pick his brain a little bit. I'm sure have you had a chance to interact with him before, online or live?
I haven't, never, no. And, I'm a bit, I don't know, I feel a bit nervous being in the presence of such greatness, to be honest. And I'm not being sarcastic there at all. I've always been more, I played a lot of online in the early days, but I've never got to the stage that I've been like a full online grinder and, taking advantage of training and this, that, and the other. So I would definitely probably be well out of my depth with in the world of BenCB. But yeah, I'm excited to observe. at least. I don't know if, I mean, it's...
You're not going to hop in those 25K rebuys anytime soon? Those online rebuys?
No,
100Ks?
You know, maybe next year. But yeah, no, it should be great. I mean, what value, you know, for viewers to just tune in and see, you know, who's considered. Again, I can't turn around and say I'm an encyclopedia of knowledge of all the tools that are out there. But you know, BenCB, without a shadow of a doubt, you know, for someone that doesn't play online as much, and even I know that he's like right there at the top of his like. You couldn't ask for more, you know, and to be able to have him here, fantastic.
Well, we've got 8s versus 9s in this particular hand, and I'm going to just step away to refresh my coffee. I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one for Sid to get away from. I mean, certainly he's going to be opening here, and he's just going to be way too shallow effectively against N-Kush to even consider folding here. So this is going to be an unfortunate kind of setup here against Sid. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, you know, Sam, all these stacks, once the blinds got up to 1.6 here, there's only one stack above 20 big blinds, and everybody was pretty shallow, you know.
Yeah, exactly that. They just creep up, and it's...
Yeah, push and pray, the only over 20 big blind stack we have. Wow, I mean, this feels super strong, but how could you ever possibly fold? It's like 8 big blinds, right? 6 big blinds more.
It's so frustrating when you have to... I mean, when you call and see the hand, and you just think, why was I even dealt this in the first place? But yeah, I mean, you can't really fold here, so it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, maybe there's some consideration if he had seen the previous final table with N-Kush at it, because N-Kush made some pretty massive laydowns and played in a very unconventional style, you know, like limping and just 3-betting, not all in. But yeah, only 6 big blinds more. Sid gave it some consideration, so kudos to him for that. But I mean, there's just no way you can fold pocket 8s there, so kind of a gross spot for him. And now he's the short stack down to 12 mil and looking about, you know, 7.5, 8 bigs here. Kind of gross spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, he would have looked like a genius after the fact if he'd seen he's folded to exactly, you know, 9s. But yeah, as you said, you can't fold. But this N-Kush, I think he's been on. Is this like the 3rd final table this week now? I think, because I know
I've commentated on one at least.
That's right. I think you commentated on one. I think I've commentated on one as well. Yeah. And I think this is the 3rd time, and I definitely agree. If I remember, when I commentated, N-Kush was sitting where Rocky the Great is, and I think he was limping random hands. Like he just had a. I think he's got more gears than most players, basically. I mean,
yeah, it seemed to me like he was playing just like a style to try to make people uncomfortable. I mean, people study against shoving ranges. They don't study against limps and 3Xs at final tables. I mean, 3-bets that are not all in at very shallow stack sizes. So trying to make people uncomfortable. And actually, we have a pretty interesting hand here. N-Kush kind of playing in tempo and min-betting the turn with the gutter and overcard and calling the turn raise. Well, I just can't. I'm just not a fan of that.
Well, I was going to say it's so small.
1/8 pot lead, and it might just work. Is this going to work? So what a weird line.
I was just thinking, like, if you are taking that line, like, are you thinking that advanced that you put your opponent on exactly as straight, so when the board pairs you can rep the house, but you certainly can't rep it for like 2.4?
Yeah, and I think that's just a product of Atman making the blocker bluff on the turn. And the blocker turns out straight. He's not worried about his opponent having the nuts. And he raises, he just I mean, how can you assume that you're good there? I mean, your opponent has to have a king, queen, or jack, like, minimum, and makes a laydown there, giving incredible pot odds. But, just a very strange play. It's so funny. We were just talking about how unconventional Enkush has been playing. Yeah. And then this crazy hand happens that really just changes the dynamic of this final table a bunch. I mean, now Enkush has 42 mil, and we have two clear big stacks with him in push and pray, and now everybody else is pretty damn short. So, pretty short.
Yeah, I mean
I almost spat out my coffee when I came back in to see that the end of that hand, but yeah, it's very, very unconventional the way that went down.
Yeah, it's just ICM suicide to call a raise on the turn with ace high, but it worked out. So somehow Enkush's timing has just been impeccable, and the weird things that he does to make people uncomfortable, the timing has been good on them. So it's been working out quite well for him. He came in pretty short, Peter, in that final table that we were commentating on together.
He did,
and was managed to get heads up, right?
Yep.
And I think he's kind of feeling it right now. Whatever he's doing, it's working. So
it's the zone that every poker player wants to be: red hot and just super focused, conventional or unconventional. Whatever Ankush is doing is working for him really well. And I've just been given an update from production that BenCB is facing some technical issues, internet related at his end. So we're trying to get him as soon as possibly we can, but in the meantime, though, we're just keeping our fingers crossed that his internet resolves itself and we can get him on as soon as possible. In the meantime, we can get back to the action with Ari Tribbiani's Ace Queen of Hearts.
I was going to say, it's quite ironic that someone that
I didn't want to say it, Sam. I didn't want to say it. His livelihood depends on it.
No, it's someone that's so technically proficient in what he does is facing some technical issues with the online. But yeah, it is what it is.
There's every chance that
you just have impeccable internet if you played 100Ks. Oh wow! I see Pranav Poker shoving with the A7 and. Sid is going to find a nice flop there, the two hearts on the flop with the ace queen of hearts, and secure a huge double there. So, I mean, we're going to see these confrontations, and you're going to see, like, if you see two middle stacks confront here, you're going to have somebody basically out of the tournament and somebody basically chip leader. I mean, it's just that shallow right now. So, Sid with a nice double up there, coming back from doubling up Enkush earlier with those 8s to 9s, and yeah, he's definitely a threat now, sitting in third position.
And Pranav a good chance to actually get a few chips back there because Rocky the Great only had to commit another big blind or so.
Yeah, and that's definitely a nice spot when you shove the ace-8 and get called by a random hand in the big blind and are just dominating him accidentally. So nice double for him. He's back to 9 again, so nobody's been eliminated yet. And we have pocket aces under the gun here, but is not looking like he's going to get much action. Maybe a peel from the big blind here?
I thought you were going to say maybe a peel from Enkush, given the way that he's been playing.
He's the only guy who could do it.
He's doing it all.
If there's anyone who could have done that.
Yeah, and I think normally 10-7 for like one big blind more here is a defend. But there's a special dynamic going on here where, like, if you call and flop a pair, you almost don't, like, want to check call because you're giving up your position so much. So I think this is a spot where, yes, you can see a fold here. Normally a defend, but with ICM considerations, it's just so hard to check call with any sort of speculative hand. If you flop middle pair or, like, a gutter or something, you can't just peel because you're just giving up your chip position. So a disciplined fold there from Atman, 108, and we see the aces take down the pot.
Well, in case our viewers are wondering what those little icons next to some of these players stand for, those are the titles that they've won in the past, or maybe even in the course of this series. The M stands for the Spartan Millionaire Tournament, and the IOPC, of course, is the title at the India Online Poker Championship. And the little blue icon that Ari Tribbiani's got next to his name, that's Siddharth Karia, That's, of course, from his win at the Headhunter in the last FTS series that took place. So there's plenty of poker experience on most of these players sitting at this final table as Mazakar picks up Ace King. And we could see a little bit of action here with the pocket threes of Enkush. Enkush, he's making our job fun here at this FTS main event final table.
I mean, getting a chance to see Enkush play a baby pair post flop is, I'm just buckling up for some excitement here because I just have no idea how he's going to play this.
Especially that flop, yeah.
That's a pretty good flop for pocket threes.
And with bated breath, we wait because Enkush has.
You never know if he's going to lead. He could just lead there.
No, they keep saying that you should be as, well, I don't want to use the word erratic, but let's say unpredictable as you play. And certainly Ankush has shown us in the past and at this very table also that he's very, very capable of being just as unpredictable as he's being made out to be.
If you're in... Oh, my. I was going to say, if you're in Mazakar's seat, I'd be really suspicious of that raise. And...
Yeah, I think normally that's always a call with Ace King. I mean, there's so many draws that can be on the board that they can check raise with, and you have plenty of equity. Final tables, it becomes a little more sticky because realizing your equity becomes a lot more difficult. We see Enkush again with a very tiny bet. What was that, like not even 1/5 pot?
I just don't know if... Yeah.
Was it a bluff?
Don't know if it's a bluff or a value bet. Like with the one big blind bet with the ace. He's like, oh, the Cubs come now. I'll wrap this.
Probably a value bet. I mean, he check raised the flop, his opponent check back turn when there's draws on the board, and probably ranged his opponent on, put him on Ace King. You know, that's the classic saying whenever somebody makes a play. Oh, I put you on Ace King. You know, and he put him on Ace King that time, and that's exactly what he had. So. Couldn't get any value. I mean, with all the draws hitting there, but
you just spiked the memory for me there because there was always it's a classic sort of defend when you make a play, whether it's good, bad, whatever. But I put you on Ace King, yeah. And and I remember there's a guy in Asia. He's known for being very loose and
say the name.
I managed to get a lot of chips in pre-flop, and he called me off with King 10, and he spiked to 10, and he doubled up, whatever, yeah. But he had this habit of sort of excusing his play. I mean, I think because a lot of people gave him some stick, I was like, well, it is what it is, whatever. And someone said, oh, you called all that off? He said, yeah, I put him on Ace King, and then the penny then dropped that on this occasion, he'd actually called with King 10.
Busted.
Oh, boy.
And then he looked at the board and in my hand, he said, or a pair, maybe a small pair. Oh, no. Oh, sorry. I thought...
No, he didn't get cute.
Mazakar has about 7 big blinds and has raised 5 of them pre-flop with the ace-jack, so I'm guessing he's committed here.
Yeah. I was thinking Pranav had picked up an ace again on the button and was going to get unlucky again to run into a strong hand, but I didn't notice the raise there under the gun.
Yeah, Pranav only has 2.5 big blinds, so if you're one of these other stacks, you know, you might tighten up your shoving range a little bit, just kind of noticing that he's so close to busting that you can secure another pay jump fairly easily here. Enkush looks like he's taken over this tournament. You know, he's winning a lot of pots, the unconventional style's working out, and now he's picking up some hands. Very likely going to raise and take it with this, and he'll be sitting at 30 big blinds, which this stage of the tournament is just a massive, massive stack.
Ooh!
Yeah.
Wow.
The moment you flop the nuts and no one has...
Yep. Can't even there's nothing there at the other end.
I wouldn't know this off the bat, but how many people, if any, have all those 3 badges? The Millionaire, IOPC, FTS, or are there none?
I think there may be a few, but if I'm not wrong, there's just not enough space on there to fit in all of those badges. So I have a feeling there are people who actually have all 3 of them. But yeah, I wouldn't know it offhand though. Interesting. Maybe we can have a contest question around that too. And speaking of contest questions, we asked you about that contest question earlier on, which was what is Doyle Brunson known as? We had a few answers which said the godfather of poker, but I'd already mentioned that in the live stream, so clearly that wasn't the answer. But the right answer is, of course, Texas Dolly. That's what Doyle Brunson is known as. And he's basically, the godfather of poker, of course, been around for a long, long time. And we've got a winner to that contest question. That is, of course, Animesh Deb, who plays as Psycho 95. Animesh wins a ticket into the Millionaires Day 1A, which is set for 19th of March at 6 p.m. So congratulations, Animesh, for getting that answer right and being the lucky winner of this particular contest. I am thrilled to let you know that we've actually managed to get our special guest for the evening's internet issues sorted, and so he should be joining us shortly. In the meantime, though, it's pocket tens for Mazakar in this particular hand.
Yeah, and Rocky did great with King Queen here, and just I think maybe at another stage of the tournament you consider calling off here, maybe dominate some of the shoving range, but just a huge disaster to call off with King Queen here. So I think we should see a fold and Mazakar taking down the stack. We did also see Pranav Poker find an ace rag to shove with while you were chatting, Peter, and he had ace-4 off, and the big blind again forced to call with any 2, 7-4 suited, and again he secured the double up, so he's back up to 6 big blinds now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Ah,
I can hear.
Hello.
I unfortunately can't see the gameplay yet. The link that I got doesn't work, so I can't see any action.
We're going to try and resolve that in just a second. Ben, we're going to take you off the live stream for a second, and we'll bring you right back once we resolve the audio.
All right.
Pranav Poker with another shove and take it there. So from 2.5 big blinds to 8, feeling rich. I think we're going to see a shove and kind of a gross spot for Sid here with the entire table to act behind him. But surely ahead of the shoving range. Certainly can't blame him if he goes with this hand. But I think honestly, this is kind of, it seems like a really easy spot, but I think this is actually kind of gross.
It's kind of tough.
He's going to take his time, that's for sure. Very deliberate player.
I always find why I shouldn't take it into consideration. I'm always extra cautious when I see someone that's just gone from 2 big blinds, found a double, found another. I think it's picking up some momentum, and I always, while it shouldn't affect my decision, I'm always a bit wary that the momentum might be on his side as well.
Well, it certainly is right now. I mean, 2.5 bigs to 8 bigs, pretty nice. He's right in there. He's actually outchips a couple people here, so he's not just going to be slinging it in here with nothing when there's one 11 mil stack. So worthy consideration. But yeah, I think you can't really blame Sid for calling off here with the ace queen.
Yeah.
And 1 club on the flop, but no more, and chop it up. Yeah, things are getting really shallow. 5.5 bigs, 8 bigs, 9 bigs. Very, very short.
Well,
So I think
like I said before, we're delighted to have BenCB with us, although we're still facing a slight technical issue here. So in the meantime, our audio techs are just going to resolve that problem. I request Ben to stay on the stream, and our audio guy will get in touch with you shortly. In the meantime, if you could just mute yourself, and we'll be in touch with you to resolve that right away. And back to the action.
Yeah, and we see Sid picking up the king-queen here in the big blind. And Kush, we'll see if he steps out. I'm a little interested to see how Kush plays with chip lead. I mean, he's been pretty shallow for a lot of these tournaments that we've seen him on the final tables. But when he's got a stack, he's mixed it up a bit. And wow, massive flop for him there.
Not bad.
So that's how he's doing it. Makes sense.
Easy game.
Yeah, this is where his min bets might actually prove profitable, because if you just he's gone for the trapping route, and it's a bit unfortunate for Tribbiani, given that this sort of board really favours a big blind, range. So he might decide to take a stab at this.
Yeah, well, conventional ranges, sure, but Kush plays anything but conventional ranges. So, this is kind of the Kush sort of board, but I don't know how much experience Sid has playing against this opponent, or if he's been watching the streams. I assume that most of these players will be watching the stream on delay, so maybe they'll start to see some of the shenanigans that Kush is getting up to, including that very speculative ace-high turn call, which was really a pivotal hand at this final table.
Yeah, and I think he missed a bit of value on that last hand. Like, I mean, I know it's quite a wet board, but I would have taken the, given Arya a bit of a Sid, give a bit of rope to fire again on the river. But yeah, he's just running away with the chips at the moment.
Yep. Raisin taking it there with the 9-6 suited. So you can see what I'm saying, that those board textures kind of favor like the Kush's like sort of play style. I mean, he seems pretty comfortable navigating his range, and then his opponents are always left guessing. So that's kind of an advantage to him. He knows what he's doing with his style. And the other players are left there to guess, really, because nobody sees this kind of style, limping and 3xing, and I mean, it seems like he does a lot of check raising too, and it's hard to tell if it's polarized or merged with him, because he really applies a lot of pressure, and he goes for thin value too, so very difficult opponent to play against. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, he's really chipping up a lot here, up to 35 big blinds, and I would like to see him continuing to try to find places to min raise to apply pressure to these opponents. We have a very likely, should be an interesting spot here at the sevens, huh? 7 big blind shove coming in from Pranav,
and it's
just so hard to fold a pair when you're closing the action. I mean, even with ICM considerations, and we do see a call.
Wow!
Always comes 7.
Wow.
I was also going to say, I mean, yes, this is a different situation, but I think Atman is probably unfortunate to have seen 2 shoves by Pranav go to a full run out, and both times there were 2 raggy aces, so that would have given him a bit more confidence to call it off there. But I mean, again, a pretty standard spot, I guess. And spikes a 7 on the end. That was cool.
Took a while to get our first elimination. Yeah. I mean, a lot of short stacks doubling, a lot of chips just exchanging hands. So it took a while for first blood, but now that it's happened, it'll be interesting to see if it happens. If it happens in a spurt here, I think it could. Mazakar, Rocky the Great getting pretty short.
Well, the first casualty, like we've just seen, bit unfortunate for Pranav Poker there. That's Pranav Khandalkar, who's finished in the 8th position here on the FTS main event. 4.28 lakhs is what he takes home. A little bit unfortunate there. The sevens full of tens triumphing over his hand. And that is the first bust out at this table. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but that's what it is. And I'm delighted to say that we finally fixed the technical issues that we've had. And it is my pleasure to welcome BenCB onto this live stream. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here.
I was very happy to get an invitation from you guys. That's the first time commentating a final table for the Indian poker community.
Yeah, Ben, I'm really excited to finally get a chance to meet you. I think I've played with you quite a bit in the past, but somehow our paths have never crossed. So, pleasure to finally meet you. A lot of respect for your game. I mean, really, you guys, you constantly impress me. You guys that play the highest stakes. I mean, it seems to me like dizzying thinking about what your Sunday buy-ins must be like. It makes me kind of queasy to my stomach, and I don't know how you guys handle those swings. But I think you've been always kind of an enigma to me. I've seen the screen name around, and I've never been able to attach a face to the name, but you've been around for a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about your path that led you into poker and it led you to playing basically the highest stakes tournaments in the world?
Yeah, sure. And then thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it. I started $1 sitting goals and grinded my way up, like $2 sitting goals, $5 sitting goals, always following bankroll management, was very strict with it. And 2016, I transitioned into tournaments when PokerStars abandoned their Supernova Elite system. And yeah, ever since grinding tournaments. And given the sit and go background and with the ICM and short stack background, the transition felt much easier.
Yeah, I assume from a sit and go background, I mean, I think I saw you playing a lot of those super high stakes hyper turbos and turbos with like Smock Rock Flock and Stevie and George Lind back in the day. I mean, you really just get a masterclass in ICM there, so I'm sure that's a huge advantage transitioning into MTTs. I would think that a sit and go player would have a much smoother transition going to MTTs than the other way around.
Sure.
But you kind of seem like somebody who hasn't really played that much live poker.
No.
Am I right in that assessment?
Absolutely, you're right.
Yeah, so why is that? Because, a lot of your contemporaries, I mean, certainly Stevie is a very accomplished guy, and he was playing all the same games as you back in the day. And a lot of those people made the transition. So I'm just kind of interested into why we haven't seen you around the live scene nearly as much if you're just more devoted to building your business and your coaching stable. And what sort of the logic is there? Because, I mean, we'd like to see you playing some of the high-stakes tournaments at Arya and playing some of the Triton stuff. I know I would. So I just wanted to hear some of your reasoning for that.
First of all, I don't have a stable, so that nobody feels encouraged to reach out afterwards.
Maybe I should say students then.
Yeah. Simply time-wise as well. I mean, I needed to make a decision. I can't grind online live and build a business. So for me, it was clear online and building Raise Your Edge. And also, I prefer online way more. Can play multiple tables. I usually connect live with a vacation, when I'm somewhere and there's something going on, a series or an interesting tournament. But apart from that, I don't find playing live so interesting.
Yeah, I find that interesting because, I really love playing live, and like traveling around Europe for many years, there's so many great stops that are just like a short flight away. So I just find it very attractive. But that's pretty cool. I mean, obviously your business is going pretty well. Can you tell me some latest developments into your poker training that you're working on?
We have our courses, and we're investing a lot of time in Paired, which is a training software where you can practice with ranges, quizzes, video content. It's very interactive, fast-paced, a bit more for those who don't necessarily feel the courses. It's shorter videos, 5 to 50 minutes, quick quizzes, pre-flop, post-flop. Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting hand here, huh?
Yeah. We've Kush has been pretty consistent name at these final tables this week. This is his third final table, I believe, and he's played a super unconventional style. Lots of open limping and just raising, hands that are really shouldn't be in the range, but his timing seems to be working out super well. And he came in as one of our short stacks in one of the previous final tables I commented on, and ended up getting second place. So and really playing a very strange style, like not shoving, 3xing on short stacks, limping a fair amount, kind of putting these more experienced players that have studied the more conventional shoving ranges in an uncomfortable spot. And I mean, I keep waiting for his timing to be screwed up, but he just keeps somehow winning every pot. So he's been a fun player to watch. And yeah, that was an interesting hand to raise from the ace 10 hit there on the turn. Kind of a weird spot, huh?
Wow. The 7-9 is getting in the mix.
Welcome to India.
Don't do that at home. Oh, the Queen 9 suited is even tanking. Really? I think that with that stack size, the 7-9 is not that great, obviously. If this small blind maybe also has around 10 millions, it's not that bad, because then his calling range is, especially when you play against players, they're a little bit money scared, you can get away with these jams. But you need to have a specific read. If you see this guy folding, or you see on stream that this guy, I don't know, he folds ace-7 off there because, some players are money scared. I've seen that on YouTube replays for big final tables. Then this 7-9 actually becomes a legitimate jam, or at least an option, right? So, but from a theoretical standpoint, we definitely never want to be jamming. I would even fold 9-7 suited, because also between small and big blind, the collision likelihood is really high. So, as we've seen, very likely the ace-10 jams, the queen 9 suited calls, and he ladders.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair point. When you fold the button in those spots, you allow the blinds to collide and potentially get a pay jump.
Yeah. Ace-9, I think, should fold.
Yeah, and these final tables, and I've studied with some of the Indian players as well. And when they bring hands back to the table to study, there becomes very deep conversations about GTO and how to deviate from it to exploit your very specific opponents. And I think time and time again, we see these guys playing against the same opponents. It's a similar player pool. It's a smaller player pool than on the global scale, and they have a lot of history with these guys, so they can really kind of, as opposed to playing a big open tournament on Poker Stars or something where there's 5,000 people and you just don't see the same people all the time. These guys have a lot of history. They play. They play, live tournaments together. They have all of these hands, and they come to me with very specific reads on players, and it's kind of interesting. It really makes interesting discussion about how to exploit those specific styles and how to deviate from GTO. Yeah, because it seems like oftentimes the best answer is not always the GTO answer, but the exploitive answer when dealing with unique player personalities.
Yeah,
that's probably something you don't have to deal with all that much. I mean, the high stakes. I've railed some of the high stakes tournaments that you participate in, and it certainly seems to be a mix of player personalities. I mean, there is a lot of elite players, first of all. I mean, for sure. Yeah. But in the big money grab, I guess about a year and a half ago, there's one in particular whale doing 20, 30 rebuys, something like that, in 25Ks. So I'm sure you do run into that a fair amount, even at the high stakes, where you have just some rich guy who's donking around. And I'm kind of interested to hear about how much you deviate from GTO to try to exploit those type of players.
Oh, heavily. I might play a complete different game, and I think it's important. And these days, people try to play too much solver approved, but you have to play human approved. And there's a big difference. And I feel like it's also trying to calm down our ego to say, hey, the solver proves it. So we don't want to go the extra mile of finding out, okay, but if he's never bluffing, you just play the good old, he's not validating anything worse, so I can just fold. And this happens especially in deep runs when there's a lot of money at stake. People are not going to have creative bluffs or bluff the tournament live with blockers or whatever. So but it's good. It's good because then at the end of the day, if you might be with regulars on the table and one recreational, but if the regulars are not capable of adjusting accordingly against the recreational, that means they're not going to exploit the weaker opponents enough because they play too balanced. That means you can increase your ROI on this table by playing a very exploitative game. But then the problem is with exploitative, it's very generic. So a lot of players and also students of mine are using it to find reasons and excuses to justify their bullshit plays. And
Sam, does that sound familiar?
That's me.
That's very, very dangerous. And then it's probably even better to just, stick to your GTO game plan. So you really need to have the ability to be very self-aware and honest to yourself. Wow, he calls with 10-5 there. Wow.
Yeah. Welcome to Indian Poker. This is our friend Ankush.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen that in Europe as well. It's good. You see that over and over again, and no matter if it's in Germany, if it's in Sweden or in India, I don't think it really matters. I think with the ace-9, I would prefer a pre-flop shove or a flat call. I don't really think you want to be 3-betting here. You want to apply maximum ICM pressure. Or you just want to play small pot against the dominant. Even if he's going to be calling 10-9, he's also going to be calling so many hands that just have so much equity, like Jack-7 suited, 10-5 suited, and you really don't want to have that.
Yeah, you just want to take down the pot, right? I mean,
yeah.
Three betting anything but all in shouldn't really be too much of a thing on that stack depth. Maybe that's a cliche thing to say. But
there's certainly a lot of 3-betting happening, but not with that hand. Because he has 20 big blinds. The button range, he's going to have also a lot of off-suited crap, Jack-7 off. So you want to do a lot of small 3-betting there, for sure. But very polarized. Like, off-suited aces work really well in these spots. And then calling mostly your suited stuff or rejamming it. But this hand, like the Jack-10 suited, Queen-Jack suited, Ace-10 suited, I would either call or jam. Because an aggressive opponent if he starts 4-bet jamming lower suited aces, small pairs, then it gets kind of dicey. And you're wasting a lot of equity.
Okay. Well, on that note, it's been an absolute pleasure to have briefly met you. But I am a fan of the 10-5 of clubs myself, so I'm not going to embarrass myself any further. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break and pass you over to Muskan, who's going to be joining the stream now. So I'll be watching from the sidelines for now.
Thank you, Sam.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
And Enkush punishing the limp here with the Queen-5 suited. It's going to work. I kind of like checking back these suited hands, but Enkush definitely going to be applying some pressure. I don't think there's really anything too wrong with him applying the pressure when he's chip leader. It's going to be so hard for his opponent to limp jam or limp call and realize his equity there. So Enkush being aware of his position and using his chip stack to his advantage and taking down that pot.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
She's gone. There she is.
Oh,
Hi there.
I've been waiting, and what a pleasure to be in this company with you, Kevin, and you, BenCB. It's such a pleasure. I've been watching all your podcasts, and obviously I study your material, so it's
Thank you.
an honor to be able to ask you questions and hear your thoughts on today's final table.
That's very kind. I'm happy to hear that. I hope you enjoy the material.
Of course, and when you were talking about paired, I was just going to say that that's also such a great way to study, and being able to have that range viewer. So, for those who don't know about it, why don't you tell us more about the courses and the range viewer, especially that's available on Raise Your Edge?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm keep it short because I'm here for commentating the action.
Yeah.
There's lots of different stuff in there, pre-flop, post-flop, the range viewer where you get access to different ranges for different stack sizes. We also recently added ICM final table ranges for different stack size distributions for six-handed.
Ben,
So
I'm sorry for interrupting you. Are you
Yeah.
able to study three-way, multi-way spots like, is there a course on that specifically?
Oh, it's part of the Turn Masterclass. We have post-flop multi-way videos. We have pre-flop multi-way ranges. So that's also overcalling, squeezing,
Yeah. Okay.
defending against squeezes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, the 4-3. Yeah, I guess he's. Yeah, I mean he's committed.
That's Alok, and he gets a double up. Good one.
I'm quite partial to the 4-3 of spades myself. First live tournament I won was with that hand. And in the main event one year, I made a straight flush with it against nut flush against one of my best friends in like the actual World Series main event. So definitely a favorite hand of mine. Usually not supposed to be in there, but Kush is going to find any excuse to be playing hands right now.
Yeah, in general, it's okay to be very aggressive, but you don't want to be opening the 4-3. Blocker effects become very, very crucial on final tables, where when you have a 4 and a 3, there's not going to be flat calling happening. You block a lot of the 9-4 offs and 4 deuce offs. You don't block any value hands, so the card removal effects are quite crucial here. So even like opening a king 5 off is so much better.
Right. When you have 4-3 suited, you want the big blind to be snap folding, and you're blocking all the snap folds.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So how much is your master course, if you don't mind me asking?
Currently it's 1,200, and we have an apprentice for 700. So we have 2 tiers.
Oh.
Oh wow.
Oh, insta call by Ankush.
Did he min raise the small blind there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you would just want to open shove this hand, of course, 10 big blinds. And the queen nine suited, I'm not a big fan of the jam. I think you just want to play in position, especially since Enkush does a lot of random things. Just call. You have a much bigger edge post flop. I see what Push and Pray is trying to do. He's taking advantage of the very wide min opens, which you don't necessarily, when you have position, you don't need to be so aggressive. You just defend really wide and take him to the streets and play post flop, even with your 11 big blinds there.
But Ben, did you check his screen name? Push and Pray.
Yeah, true.
You know?
Yeah.
He's living up to the name.
Yeah.
As advertised.
So how do you adjust during the different stages of the tournament, and especially the end game that we're watching right now?
It's very player dependent. You can't really have one game plan. As we've seen, like everyone plays so differently. One is very aggressive. One opens certain hands way too much. Against certain opponents, you just have to be a little more aggressive. I like the fact that Push and Pray is trying to be a bit more aggressive with his ace-9 suited queen-9. I just think the hand selection is not ideal. It seems a little bit to me to be trying to be aggressive for the sake of being aggressive, no matter what kind of hand he has. And then just adjusting your game plan, like this is just the only thing you can do. And if you don't really know how to adjust, then stick to your game plan. Just play your game and don't freak out. I also see a lot of my students that then play higher buy-ins or play against certain opponents. They don't really know what am I supposed to do here and there. You can't really learn the game while you play. And just stick to your game, stick to what you know, and don't try to get too fan. This is something you learn during your studies and not while you play. So sometimes you also need to accept the fact that, all right, I'm not really familiar with certain concepts or adjustments I'm supposed to make, and then it's time to study it, and then next time you can. Interesting defend with a 10-7 off. I don't think we want to be defending that against a range. Even against the min opens, his bluffs,
Yeah.
the hand performs really, really bad with his stack size. So even 10-9s, yeah, but even 10-9 is very, very close. This is something we also have in the Tournament Masterclass, the preflop ranges for final tables, where then against tight open raising ranges, I mean, he's shoving ace, king, ace, queen, so his open is going to be like maybe some king tens, some jack tens that he doesn't want to jam, or some queen jacks, and then 10x hands perform really, really bad. It's much better to defend the 6-5 off there, probably.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to talk about this tweet that I read in the morning by Adara O'Kearney. He said, find someone that looks at you the same way a solver looks at 6-5 suited. Do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, I guess it comes with the principle of card removal effects that, especially when you play a hand like 6-5, 7-6, it doesn't really interact with the open raiser's range. So the cards that you need around an 8, the 8, the 5, the 4 to make a straight aren't really blocked, or to make a 2-pair. That's why intuitively you might think when you have aces, we get so often cracked by a 4-5 suited or a 6-5. While there's a reason, because it's more likely that there are 6s and 5s in the deck, because the open raiser is going to have an ace, a king, queen a lot of the times. So you're going to hit trips way less with your queen jack or queen 10 than you will with your 6-5 or 4-5 or 7-6.
It's a very interesting point. I like it quite a bit. And we see Atman stepping out here with queen 9 off. We've seen a little bit of this, and a min 3-bet from queen 10, which is enough to get it done. So
yeah, you don't want to be opening there if you have this guy to your left. You just you want to wait for a hand.
If anything, you should be tightening up your ranges, right? You should be tightening up your ranges when you have a super aggressive opponent on the button.
Or limp. Just limp, and probably see that he gets into the mix with Jack 7 diamonds as well. Or you start forward jamming. So this is the problem I see very, very often here. So they know I also have a rather big stack. I want to apply pressure. Wow. You can't lose this as well.
Wow. Actually, these two are good friends. So maybe I think they play FIFA, Among Us, a lot of games together. So I think that's the reason why we saw an Insta.
You called it with deuces. How good friends can they be?
They're certainly not friends anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, so what I was trying to say is that either go all the way. So when he starts 3-way, you 4-bit jam really, really wide. And if you're not able to do that, you have to open raise way tighter and just wait for a good hand. And very often people try to be in between, throwing in some loose open raises, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. This guy's going to keep 3-betting you, and he has a bigger stack. He can also stack off much wider. He can play with more hands.
Ben, that's such an interesting thing, because I've asked this question to my coaches so many times that, they've asked me to have a lot of 3-bet folds in my ranges. So then I'm like, okay, what are my 4-bet bluffs? And they're like, oh, there are very few. Okay, this one, maybe this ace or that. And I'm like, no, because people 3-bet me light so often that I want some hands. Like, I can always not wait for premiums. I need enough equity to actually 4-bet jam on them if I open. Otherwise, I don't see a point opening. That was an interesting one. You said that that's actually a problem that you see.
Yeah, usually it depends on what their calling range is. If let's say they 3-bet call 10s plus, ace queen plus, then and then very often the 3-bet bluffs are going to be some queen 10s, jack 10s. Some ace 9s, ace 8s. So you don't really want to have an 8 or 9 in your hand. So it's often good to 4-bet jam the low suited aces.
What do you think about this hand? What do you think about the flat here with ace 9?
Now the ICM gets pretty sick with this 2.5 big blind stack. It's not terrible, but the problem is, so for example, on 10-8-3 against the button range with ace 9 and the backdoors, we probably want to be calling, but it gets really awkward. So we don't get to realize our equity as much as we would in a chip EV environment. So even here he has to fold. So I would probably either jam pre-flop or just fold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of ace 9 off. I mean, I guess that's not always true. I have 5-bet called ace 9 off before on TV, but it just doesn't flop very well in my opinion. So check calling from the small blind there is just going to be a difficult task. So
Yeah.
I would have liked to see a reshove or
Yeah.
a fold there. And Sid is down to the danger zone here, sub 2 big blinds.
Oh, he just
It's
folded that.
suited
ace-five.
ace. Yeah, I think that he probably should have just gone with that suited ace there.
Yeah, a lot of players they just have such a tight calling range and they prefer jamming than calling off and losing your tournament in such an important stage. I feel that's the reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of dead money in the pot there, though.
Yeah.
Discounted price in the small blind. Yeah, well, we see Sid spiking the king on the river there, so 7 on the turn. And he needed to hit one of his overcards on the river to stay in, and he did find that king. So Sid back up to about 4.5 bigs. Going to shove in here with the ace-4 suited. And Nkush probably, I don't know what Nkush is going to do ever. So.
Yeah, like that same thing he spoke about. He wants to keep the short stack in. Like to just have that ICM pressure on the table. Like that's the reason I feel a lot of the chip leaders don't call off that light to these 4-5 big shoves.
Yeah, that's a good strategy for sure.
Have a couple of pretty good hands here. Push and pray with the ace-king suited at about, 14 big blinds? Kind of tough spot for the sixes to call here, especially... You got to think that the big blind, when they reshove, is a little bit stronger than a small blind reshove, for example, because they can call so many hands in the big blinds. So when they do elect to reshove, I think that they have a little bit stronger range. Pretty scary to call off there with the sixes.
Yeah.
I think it would be ICM suicide. So, yeah, we do see the fold.
Ben, are you passionate about anything other than poker? Like you collect-
Sure. Yes.
Can you?
We also have an esports division. I'm very passionate about esports and games in general. I like to travel a lot. I like to cook. I like food. I like sports, kickboxing, martial arts.
Wow.
Like a lot of different things.
Do you like
Life
to
is
collect
amazing.
something?
Collect?
Yeah.
No.
Like, okay. Could be paintings, could be anything.
No.
Some people have like these obsessions, so that's why I thought it's always nice to ask. Oh,
Well, I'm going to
nice.
let Peter come back in here and take over for a bit, but I'll be on standby, so I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit.
Sure. Ben, what about esports? Like what in esports? So you've been
Currently, we have a team in Valorant and PUBG. I know PUBG is pretty big in India.
I love PUBG and it got banned here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope they bring it back. I'm not
I
sure.
hope too. Yeah.
We recently also had StarCraft 2 players and Hearthstone, which we had to split away from, but it's then mainly a decision because of how the esports scene or the developers are, treating the game, and sometimes you don't really see a prosperous future in those games, in those titles. So we see a big opportunity in PUBG and Valorant. We're already in PUBG for more than 2 years.
Wow.
And Valorant is kicking off big. We're currently playing the European Masters against all the big teams in the world.
Which one do you
Which are-
prefer though? Because they are so similar, both the games.
Sorry?
Both of these games are so similar. Which one do you prefer, PUBG or the other one?
I mean, I don't think that it's similar, to be honest, because Valorant is more like Counter-Strike 5v5, like very fast-paced, and PUBG is Battle Royale. It's like 60 players, 100 players, big map, takes forever.
I love it.
Yeah, you might only get one kill like 30 minutes and you're still excited, but and you die, then you have to wait 20 minutes for a new game.
Do you like camping a lot, or are you the attacker?
No, I'm always all in.
Amazing. I loved it when they introduced the helicopters and those big machine guns and all. That was also interesting when, instead of cars, now you're flying around.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been thrown into an absolute gaming nerd fest here. You guys are like so into this sort of a thing, so it's lovely
You
to
can't
see.
believe it, Peter. Because of PUBG in the States, I was having a full-on conversation with this man who's so into weapons, and he's like, "Do you know about this gun?" I'm like, "Yeah, this bullet goes in that gun. This happens." And he's like, "How do you know all this?" I'm like, "It's a PUBG."
Well, there you go. These games are more than good for even general knowledge in that sense. But Ben, you've been, commenting on this final table. There's been some interesting hands we've seen over the course of not just this table but the series as well. What's your general take about Indian players as such, and of course whatever we've seen so far? Are we too crazy? Are we too not crazy for this sport?
Very aggressive. Sometimes too aggressive.
Oh, okay.
I sometimes feel like you don't like to be pushed around, but sometimes, given the stack sizes, you are going to be pushed around, and you just have to wait. And I feel like, sometimes I think it's good to be aggressive, but you shouldn't be overpacing it.
Yeah.
Well, the cool, calm European efficiency coming right through, and just tapping our Indian sensibilities of playing on these tables just a little bit. But a nice hand developing here. Push and pray, getting pocket aces.
Yeah, probably going to see an open and rejab from the small blind. So this is, for example, a spot when push and pray opens and Makaza rejams. His calling range is probably going to be 9s plus, 10s plus. Like, he knows Makaza is going to be reshoving really tight. And push and pray is going to have a lot of king 10, queen 10, jack 10 raise folds. So ace 10 might look good, but if you have ace 5 suited, it's much better to rejam with than ace 10 off. But I would also still rejam ace 10 off, but I'm more thrilled to have a low suited ace here than, let's say, an ace 9 or an ace 10.
Well, Makaza, you can be happy about the fact that BenCB agrees with your move. Sadly, though, that didn't work out for him. And there we go with losing another player here. I believe in 5th position, and I'm down to.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Please go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering now how push and pray now plays against Enkush. Now having the bigger stack, there's some interesting dynamics. And if Enkush now is slowing down, or he's like, I don't give a fuck, I'm playing for the win.
Of course.
I can imagine push and pray jams. No, he doesn't.
Peter, you need to call out all the casualties because you've lost a lot of players here.
Clearly, I have. We're just getting an update for the exact prize monies. We will just be announcing the payouts in just a second, getting the graphics on.
I'm just checking who this one is. I mean, it's from Bangalore.
Yeah, it seems like Enkush, the way he plays, I also seen that a lot. He doesn't feel comfortable playing as a check, and then not knowing what to do against the bet. So he wants to have the lead, all these small bets, and of course we see also a lot of bets that don't really make a lot of sense there. He just doesn't really know how to proceed again when he checks and then facing different bet sizes, bigger bets, smaller bets, and that's his way of avoiding it by just betting himself whenever he has something.
We saw him fold kings pre-flop to a very aggressive player, and that was so shocking. We all were like, what did he do that? And then on the other hand, he's so unconventional and he takes all these lines that I to be honest, he's been my most fun player to watch. I'm so excited. When last night I got the list, I'm like, whoa, yay, it's Ankush again tomorrow. We're going to see some action-packed poker because rest of the players are playing textbook poker, hardly, deviating from GTO. But yeah, it's interesting to see this.
That's exactly what I was telling our commentators up top, Kevin McPhee and Sam Razavi, that it's nice to have these... I want to use the word unconventional instead of wild. So having these players sort of adds a lot more spice and flavor to the commentary booth as well. And coming to the payouts of the players who've busted out of this FTS final table, we've had a number of players getting to the money, and here they are in 8th position. It's Pranav Khandalkar.
Good fold there with a 6-5 suited. Sorry, that's remarkable. That's a lot of players would limp it or try to play it or jam it. That's a very good fold.
Yeah, I've seen a few more good folds also today. It's very impressive.
And looking at the payouts once again, Pranav Khandalkar in 8th position with 4.28 lakhs. After him was Rahul Jindgar, who busted out at 7th place with 6.18 lakhs. Devvrat Arya playing as Deranzed, taking up 6th position for 8.28 lakhs, I beg your pardon. And the last player who got eliminated was Alok Birewar playing as Massacre, 10.54 lakhs for his efforts. and we're now down the last 4.
Ben, your cold showers are really famous all around the world. Have you ever had an ice bath?
Sure.
Yeah,
Of course.
weekly. Are you serious? I'm sure because you work out a lot and it really helps with muscles. Is that the reason?
No, just to
necessary.
strengthen my immune system.
Oh,
And
wow.
afterwards, I just feel great. It's like it's better than having coffee for me. I can't start the day without having a cold shower anymore. It feels weird. So I really enjoy it. It's the first moment is painful.
Yeah, wakes you up.
It's a tough moment. But it's a moment of
Yeah.
one day.
That first few seconds. That's the tough
Oh,
one.
big volley here, Queen 8 suited. I think it's a good jam with his deck size. But King Queen suited, of course, a call. And now Enkosh has a deck size where he's in the danger zone.
We lost a really talented player right now, Anujkumar Kodam.
Oh, he really wants him to be Basu. Wow. Okay.
Wow!
What? Oh my god.
Well, almost back-to-back hands there. We've got 2 eliminations in double quick time. Anujkumar Kodam finishing in 4th place with 13.44 lakhs, and our latest casualty, Enkush, the unpredictable Enkush, finishing in 3rd place for 17.24 lakhs, and it's down to heads up.
Ben, do you have anything to add to that hand that just went down?
Yeah, I think the King 9 all in is fine. It's a good play. It's probably not good when the small man calls deuces. So when you know that people are calling a loser, then it's not a good jam anymore. That's where, as we talked earlier about adjustments, when you see, okay, people are calling a little too wide in ICM situations, then you have to jam incredibly tight and limp and min raise.
100% push and pray is not ICM aware, and we didn't know that. Like, I'm sure Enkush didn't know that. It's pretty obvious here. He just pushes and prays. So why would he fold deuces there? But it's fine.
He also seems to be a little out of line here with his bets. Also 9-4 on this board. Never wants to bet. I mean, you never really have a strong hand on this board. You raise a lot of strong queen x pre. You don't have queen 10 10s. You don't have aces kings, which the opponent can easily limp with.
That's such a great point. I always stress on understanding the board textures. Just learning the ranges doesn't help you. You need to know what to do on different kind of boards, and especially on these kind of boards, they get so tricky, and these are big mistakes as well. But I guess. So yeah, that's what push and pray should have worried about while calling off deuces. That in case he busted, he's just, it's a kind of a blunder because there's another shorter stack on the table, right? So, and now he's put himself in that same situation because the other he's doubling him up, and very soon it's gonna be a neck to neck fight. And Ben, also we were talking about heads up. I was asking Kevin and Sam the most optimum way to play heads up because there's it's such a wide concept, So what are your thoughts on a good heads-up match?
A lot of practice because heads up, very wide ranges, different player types. That's where I always encourage tournament players also to mix in some sitting goals where you're going to be playing a lot of heads up with different stack sizes, 10 big blinds, 20 big blinds, 30 big blinds. Look into some solves for playing 20 big blinds. Have an idea what kind of prefab ranges to adopt for different stack sizes, and then just play. Get a feeling for heads up. Heads up is very also experience based. You will have situations where you face them for the very first time because ranges are so wide, and you're a little lost with your ace high, king high, queen high, bottom pair, and you make a lot of decisions based on your feeling, based on the opponent, and just the experience, just getting in a lot of volume and trying to play as much heads up as possible, I would say, is very important.
That was a great point. Thank you. Also, this advice was like really funny. So, but I think there is some merit to it. One of the strategies you can take when you're playing heads up is start mirroring your opponent. What do you have to do? like mirroring him, like in case like mirror your opponent in the sense like if he is limping, you start limping. If he's doing certain things, you just start you respond by doing what he's doing. What do you have to say about that?
No, I would just do whatever is your game plan, because you might have not studied a lot of limp pots, and then you might start playing in his favor, in his cards, right? So stay in your own territory and play your own game.
Right.
Interesting 2.5x open there with a 9-6 off. I don't really know what his thought process is behind there, but not a mistake by any means. It's just interesting that he chooses a larger sizing there with this particular hand. And Push and Pray has an interesting hand because he doesn't block any of his 6-7, 6-5, Jack 10s, Queen 10s. I could definitely see some merits there for calling with this particular hand.
Yeah.
He's going to have a lot of 4-5, 6-4 suited, which are probably better for better folding than a 3. So Ace-3 is a good call there on the turn.
But to be honest, Siddharth Karia is, obviously a very, very talented player. So, it's so nice that he's come this far, and it's nice to see that hand as well. I can't see the gameplay. What's happening?
Well, we've just been informed by production that both players have decided to make a deal. And as a result of that, Siddharth Karia is the winner of this FTS main event. He scores that first place position. A fantastic performance by the young man. And of course, Avinit Bagri, playing as the very interestingly named Push and Pray 17, finishes runner-up for a sum of 30.19 lakhs. Siddharth Karia, playing as Ari Tribbiani, takes home 32.26 lakhs. What a wonderful payday for both the top two finishers. And I think it's been an interesting final table. Ben, I hope that you've had an interesting insight into, your first time doing online commentary for an Indian series. And we hope we've entertained you a little bit about our own scene here.
It was a lot of fun because we have different characters here. Usually when you do commentating, you have one main host, and that's the entire time here. It goes back and forth with different characters, which I really enjoyed. It didn't get boring at any time.
Well, that's what we're here to do, entertain, inform, and have the likes of BenCB, who are part of this particular live stream. Ben, thank you so much for taking out the time and joining us for this FTS main event live stream. We hope to see you again really, really soon. And once again, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, and much love to India.
Well, there you have it, folks. The wonderful BenCB joining us at this final table. And there was a lot of technical stuff for poor old me. My brain was just trying to wrap around all of those things that were being fired out of something that, the brain of someone who's as talented as BenCB. It was wonderful getting an education in the style, in his style and his thought, his line of thinking. I'm being joined once again by the dynamic duo of Sam Razavi and Kevin McPhee here. Gentlemen, welcome back to the live stream. What a wonderful way for Siddharth Karia to end this series, taking home the title of this FTS main event. Kevin, I think there was some fist bumping happening out there in Banff, Canada, from your end.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was rooting for Sid at the beginning of this final table. I mean, he's a good friend, super nice guy, and a talented player. I know he puts a lot of work in, so it's nice to see his hard work pay off with the main event title. I mean, pretty impressive stuff, winning an event last series and then coming in here, doing an interview, and then just taking down the main event. I mean, what a boss move, and congrats to Sid. I knew we'd see more great things from him. I didn't know we'd see a main event win, but yeah, that's just really impressive stuff, and we're going to continue seeing him for years and years from now. I mean, he's just a great player, so kudos to him. Congrats, Sid. Can't wait to party with you later.
Well, I'm sure that party is going to be long and hard over the course of this evening by Siddharth Karia. Just a reminder, we have our winner of this FTS main event 2.0 that we're facing here, Siddharth Karia, playing as Ari Tribbiani, in a deal that was done heads up between himself and Avinit Bagri, playing as Push and Pray Fold. Siddharth Karia, the eventual winner, who takes home 32.26 lakhs for that win. And of course, that gold and diamond studded bracelet that is not his really, but he's holding it for Sam Razavi. And some gift hampers and game face masks and whatnot. I beg your pardon, it's not a bracelet, but it's a medallion that is going the way. So all those wonderful prizes. And the second runner-up, of course, is Avinit Bagri playing as Push and Pray 17. He took home 30.19 lakhs after that heads-up deal with Siddharth Karia. Sam, the interesting thing is that at one point on this final table, Ari Tribbiani, that's Siddharth Karia, just about 500,000 in chips. And from there to rally back the way he did, it's just an indication of the class of this player.
Yeah, he's clearly got tons of experience. And I I think that before I forget to say this, I think you're a dark horse, honestly. You've bluffed us the whole week with this idea of the commentator's curse. Oh no, if we say this, it's not going to happen. Oh no, we've said it again. And then you came out on the stream a couple of days ago. Sid, thanks Sid, we'll see you on the final table of the main event. And he's gone on to win the whole thing. Yeah. All I'm happy is that I when I spoke to him, I said, "Oh, it's great to finally speak face to face with the legend Sid. He might take some sort of sympathy. Like he might when he gets his phone call regarding the medallion, he might be a bit more accommodating. Yep. But yeah, it's obviously goes to show how he's managed to not only survive, but I think he of all the players, probably, as BenCB was alluding to, I think he adjusted well for what was going on, and that's exactly why he's managed to to cross over the finish line. So, fantastic result.
Muskan, let me come to you as well. Clearly, Siddharth playing a really good game, but the other players, Kush especially, we've seen this guy sort of really go against the grain in so many of this live streams that we've seen him on. He could have possibly been the title winner, but for a hand or two maybe not going exactly his way.
Yeah, agreed. And you remember we were having this conversation about the movie Rounders, where Mike is trying to convince Jane that, why do you think the same five guys make the final table of the WSOP? So this is like that, Ankush, when we saw him for once, we saw him twice, we saw both the times two different kind of gameplays, but the third time was like, an indication that, he's here to stay, and he's been putting in a lot of work, and, he had a word with even the Spartan team, and he was telling them that how much he's been studying lately, and, it means a lot to him to make all these final tables, because this shows that the work that he's been putting in is, speaking for itself. So it was really nice to, more motivating and inspiring actually than anything to watch all these players come out and make it and play so well. Actually, we saw some insane poker. What do you think, Kevin?
I mean, yeah, we saw some unconventional poker. We saw some very aggressive poker. I mean, that's my big takeaway, was just how aggressive all the play was. People just didn't really like to fold, and the chip leaders really liked to press with their big stack. And really the players who were rewarded at the final tables were ones who had really good timing and adjusted their game plan. So much to what you brought up that Ben said, is that, those who adjust usually flourish at these final tables, and we see it in this case with Sid.
What I really enjoyed was BenCB's expression when I asked him about what all he's seen as far as the Indian players are concerned. And, I mean, for a guy like him, he's played a whole bunch. There's really no need for me to lay out his resume. The guy has pretty much seen all of the situations, played at the highest stakes, and for a second, he had a very quizzical look on his face, almost to the fact like, what are these guys doing? Is that level of aggression that even surprised a guy like BenCB to an extent. So Indian players, fantastic. Give yourselves a thumbs up and a kudos, because you managed to even surprise some of the one of the world's absolute best. So that should be an interesting thing that you can take home tonight. But I've been told that we are ready to... sorry, Sam, you were saying?
Sorry, I was just going to quickly add, when those first couple of hands played out, and then when the 10-5, he said he's limped with the 10-5, I was going to make a joke that we brought BenCB on as one of those, those YouTube pranks where he comes on. And then I thought, I can't really say that because exactly what you said, he's literally seen everything. And I thought, I'll just keep quiet. I might just look like an idiot if I said that. But I'm glad you mentioned that.
Well, it's always a lot of fun here with all of these commentators and the special guests that we've had over the course of this series. But now it's time to talk to the man of the hour. Siddharth Karia is going to be joining us shortly on a call in this post-match interview. So let's get in touch with him in just a second.
Hello.
Hey, Siddharth.
Hey, how are you?
Good, man. I'm guessing you are way better than how I am at the moment, given that you've won the title. So right off the bat, congratulations, man. What a fantastic performance and really well played and winning this FTS main event title.
Thank you. I'm really happy. I just have a question is everyone, Kevin, Muskan and Sam there?
Yes,
Hi to all of them.
everyone is here and they are all waving back at you. I know you can't hear them and I'll relay their question shortly, but they're all waving back at you. Kevin, in fact, is doing a little bit of a fist bump the moment he came to know that you've won the title. So definitely being in your corner and rooting for your win.
Yeah, I'm doing a fist bump to him as well. Like, an interesting story is last time when Kevin was going to commentate for the first time in FTS,
Mm-hmm.
I just sort of manifested or thought or wished that, okay, he should be commentating and I should be on one of the final tables. And it happened last time. I was lucky enough to win the head hunter. And then the same, I was like, okay, this worked last time. Maybe we can do it for the main again. And I didn't play many of the events in the earlier days of FTS, but I was like, this is the time. Let's put the wishing hat on.
Nice, my friend. Very nice. But please don't forget my contribution. I called this, buddy, when we spoke the last time. I called it. I was being very modest about it, but it happened. You're there. I will take some credit also in all of this. So some of that credit for me.
Thank you so much to put it out on this note. Like, there was a retake and you actually said it twice or thrice, at least I could hear it. Like, that okay, we wish, I wish that you'll be on the final table. And very happy, very happy able to close the big one.
Superb, man. Let me just give it to my co-commentators. Kevin, you have a question for Siddharth?
Yeah. When did he get so good at poker? I mean, geez, man, he's just crushing it now. I mean, I knew he's good, but I didn't expect 2 titles and back-to-back commentaries.
Yeah, so Kevin's basically saying with a very straight face, when did you get this good at playing poker? Because he knew you were good, but he didn't realize what a crusher you are.
I should say that I got the best start possible. I was part of the going nuts team where Kevin and Dylan and of course the other players covered. A lot of players were there, so very good head start. And just some carry the momentum from there.
Muskan, you have a question for Siddharth?
Yeah, I want to wish him. I want to say congratulations. Well played. He's a crusher again. And I want to ask him, what is he going to do? How will he celebrate this win? What will he do with the prize money?
So Muskan says, congratulations, well played, being the crusher that you are. And she has a very technical question for you. How exactly are you going to celebrate this evening after
How
this
will you
win?
spend the
And how will
moolah?
you spend it, more importantly? How are you going to do that? How are you going to spend your money, the newly minted money?
When she said technical, I was like, okay, which tennis do you want to talk about? I made many blunders. But I have no idea. I was looking forward to the stream. I was looking forward to see when she commentate on it. Yes, for having him on the show, I think it was great. Like, I don't actually wish that the stream would be longer, but yeah, like something there's a part in me that says it would be great to have it longer so that he could sort of with you guys, of course, commentate, and we could benefit a little from that. Party scenes, I don't know. Of course, there's going to be a celebration. Recently the stream ended, so I've been getting calls. Something will be arranged for sure.
Like that very subtle something will be arranged for sure. We know how Bangalore mein dhoom machne wali hai aaj raat ko. Which part of Bangalore do you stay? If you can see it on Google Maps, up top, there'll be a bright light happening in that part of Bangalore that Siddharth Karia is in this evening. Well, last but not the least, Sam Razavi, you look like you have a very intense question for Siddharth.
Well, I know what I'm going to ask.
Oh, you do?
I just want to say I don't have any questions to ask, but I just want to let Sid know I've been a fan for many years. He's a fantastic player, and I hope he enjoys the money. I hope he enjoys the medallion. If he feels it doesn't sort of fit in the house, or it's something that isn't befitting him. I've set up a new business where I sort of recycle for good causes. So yeah, congrats.
Sam Razavi has no question for you. He's just wishing you really, really well. Congratulations from Sam as well on your victory, and he's delighted that you won.
Can I put a challenge forward for Sam?
Well, he's listening to you right now, man. Go for it.
I have said it earlier. I know it's his diamond medallion, and he might rent it out to me, but if he takes a video of himself doing High Garmi dance a Bollywood song, he doesn't even have to rent the diamond medallion for me.
Wow. Sam, that's an offer. I mean, that is like a full-on offer. High Garmi is one of those Bollywood-esque songs. Both our international commentators are going to be logging onto YouTube right after we end this broadcast to check out what High Garmi is all about. And the challenge is out there.
Sam, you don't even know what you got yourself in.
I think I might have been sent a copy of the video, and it reminds me kind of a Friday night at home. So yeah, I'll be.
Well, Sid, I think you've thrown the challenge, and if there was anyone on this commentary panel who's up for this task, it is this gentleman from the UK who might just, we've always been calling him the Bollywood sensation, so there might be one more sensational video that's coming our way, courtesy of Sam Razavi. Though we've taken up enough of your time, man. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for joining us, and what a wonderful performance. Congratulations once again. Brilliantly played and well-deserving of that FTS main event title. Congrats, man, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you for having me. This was the best start of the celebrations that could be. So, cheers. Thank you, all of you. Kev, Peter, Muskan, and Sam. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Siddharth.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Cheers.
And there you have it, folks. Siddharth Karia playing as Ari Tribbiani, the winner of this final table series main event. A fantastic performance by him. Just before we leave, it's been a long week, guys. Let's just be straight up about that. We as commentators have been put through the grind, but we've been rewarded with some very, very unconventional plays that we've seen. Kevin, I think, you've had the opportunity, we've all had the opportunity to see plenty of action. And the nice thing is we've seen slightly longer final tables than the previous edition of the FTS. So a good bit of, enjoyment for us in the commentary booth as well.
Yeah, and, sometimes I kind of think maybe final tables aren't always the best thing to watch because the play is so handcuffed by ICM. And sometimes that reflects in the play, but we certainly didn't see that here. I mean, we saw people just going for the win, playing unconventional styles, and it really made for a lot of fun poker to watch, to be perfectly honest. So that's my big takeaway from the series, just how much fun it is to watch these final tables. It's a lot of action, and it's just been a really great series. So I want to thank everybody for having me here, and it's just been a joy.
Well, Muskan Sethi, you've been with us on every single of these final streams, and in fact, you were playing alongside doing commentary, and there was every chance that if Muskan had made it to this final table of the main event, she would have been doing that live on air with us. Unfortunately, that was not to be, but a fun series nonetheless, Muskan.
Yes, I really enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun interacting with everyone, in the chat, watching all these amazing players get after each other. I mean, it's very different when you're at home watching live stream, and it's really different sitting in the booth and commentating and being in their shoes, putting yourself there and trying to understand what their thought process is, and then commentating on that. And also, I really enjoyed Kevin, Sam, and your company. To be honest, it was more like, for me, when the stream got over, I would really reflect on, the stuff that you spoke about in every sport and things like that, So for me, it was an amazing learning experience. And when I was going back and playing, a lot of these players were on my table. So to be honest, I just knew how they play, what are they up to, and it was fun. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And yeah, it's been fun.
Well, I'm sure Spartan Poker and the India Poker Championship are going to be flooded by commentary requests after Muskan Sethi has just mentioned that she's gotten a little bit of an edge by being a part of this commentary team. And finally, last words from Bollywood sensation and soon to be the new video host of Hai Ye Garmi, Sam Rasavi. Sam, I think it's been an awesome series, and I think what were some of the highlights for you personally in whatever we've seen so far?
Well, I'll start off with sort of latching onto what Muskan said. It's always great for me to come on and be able to learn some new things. I don't want to give too much credit, because then I might start being charged to actually come on and listen. But it's great I always learn something new. I think with poker, as with everything in life, you keep learning throughout your entire career, so it's always great to learn something new. What I've really enjoyed is I went in I've seen there've been loads of new players at these final tables that I haven't necessarily heard of myself. It doesn't mean that they're not well known, but amongst all that, there have been so many sort of multiple final tables from several players that I think it was really great to see, and that's not a fluke. So we talk about Kush's unconventional style of play.
Okay, this word has been overused. Can you just replace this word now?
Okay. Well, he took a suitably long pause before saying that word, so just adding the gravitas to it.
I think we can create a new uncushventional play. But it goes to show, all different styles work if they work for you, and if you continue doing what you're doing. And he's made 3 final tables, and it just goes to show that people have been putting in the work over these past few months. And I used to, I'm just wondering what it's going to be like next time, if there is a next time when I get to come and play live poker in India.
Are you super impressed by any one player specifically?
Yeah, actually, that's a question we can ask both of you over the course of the week. Who's really impressed you the most?
I think Sid is my easy answer. I mean, he won 2 events, back-to-back series, and I think he navigated that very difficult final table pretty well. But I'm, biased, so Sid Karia is my pick.
Yeah, Sid, I think lol this guy, is it? Lol this guy?
Arjun
I think he,
really well.
He played some, it's, I don't really know the word, I don't want to use unconventional again, but I think he had some, I think he was mixing up his game, and along with Kush as well, I think it's great that he sort of stuck to his guns, and like Kush, when he picked up the chip lead, and then I think he just doesn't slow down, and I think it's a bit of credit for just not just sticking to his own game plan. So I think, all throughout, I think the play's been, pretty solid. Yeah.
What about you, Muskan? Anyone besides these two that Sam and
I
Kevin
can't
mentioned?
take names. In fact, it's like same thing that Sam said. That so many new players. Obviously the known regs that we saw during this week. Obviously, I was like, wow, again, like give us the chance also, like that, like with the new names that came and showed us this solid poker, that was very impressive. So for me, I have no like one favorite. I am impressed by the whole lineup that we saw this week.
Well, damn, I was trying to get Muskan to just inadvertently spill the beans on whatever that was, but she's too sharp. That's why she's such a good poker player. So, fair enough. I'm delighted to have been a part of this commentary panel over the course of this FTS series, the final table series of the India Poker Championship. This 2.0 edition, we've had so much of excitement. There's been some red-hot, intense poker action. We've had, one surprise after the other. The chip leaders, that's been the feature of this entire FTS. None of the chip leaders at the start of the featured final tables going on to win it. But we've had new winners, new players, and this excitement should continue as we go ahead. I would like to thank this wonderful panel of commentators, Muskan Sethi, Kevin McPhee, and Sam Razavi, soon to appear in a Bollywood film. Thank you so much for your contributions, your thoughts, and a lot of fun and laughter over the course of this series. We hope to see you again really, really soon. And on behalf of the entire team, this is Peter Abraham bidding you goodbye, and we'll see you on the other side.